One person can make a difference, and everyone should try. Yes, that's me, 6-year-old me, in my backyard, and I think that I was getting ready for my first day of first grade in Southeast Queens. What that picture doesn't show is what was happening on the inside of my house. Inside of that house were 4 very small children who were pretty scared, and their very resourceful, strong mom. You see, my mom came to this country from Trinidad and Tobago to find the American dream. She came here with an education, she was a registered nurse, and she wanted the best for her family. What she didn't realize was that she would find violence and isolation, and not violence on the outside of her house, but inside of her house. My mom was a victim of domestic violence, which meant that the 4 of us were victims of domestic violence also. So when she finally decided to get separated from my father, she was left as a single mom with 4 young children, which, as you all know, can't be easy. I remember nights when we didn't have enough money to pay the boiler man to get heat, so she would make a game out of us putting on extra clothing and hats and extra socks. She made it fun so that we wouldn't be afraid. I remember sometimes when we didn't have our uniforms and couldn't afford our uniforms, so she went to the principal at St. Catherine's of Siena School where we attended and asked if she could have the uniforms and pay a week later. And I remember one particular night when we were at home and there were screams in my house, and my neighbor, Mr. Pohl, came over and knocked on the door. He called the police and he knocked on the door. He was responding to the screams of my mom and the cries of my brothers. I was silent. I knew that I should be quiet because I didn't want to upset more what was going on in the house. And Mr. Pohl came over and asked my dad to walk it off. I've never been so happy to see a police officer and a neighbor as I was that evening. You see, Mr. Pohl made a difference in my life. So when people ask me what inspires me and why I come and I do this work, I realize I really can't separate my past from my present. Who I am and what I do for a living is the same thing. Now as an attorney, I went to Columbia Law School, I practiced law, I worked at the Administrative Services and was a deputy commissioner there, and now leading the Harlem Children's Zone as CEO, no one would have imagined that that little girl would do that. And I know for a fact that there are many other little girls like that out there with the right support. Schools with more Mr. Pohls in their life would be able to accomplish great things. I live and work in Harlem. And it's a community that is beautiful and vibrant, but still has many challenges. 65% of the children, just 40 blocks from here, are born into poverty. 54% of them, like me, were born to a single mom. 81% of the kids at our charter school are eligible for free and reduced lunch. And 30% of the middle schoolers, again, just 40 blocks from here, have witnessed or have known a family member to be killed. It's really hard to be your best self and to grow up and to do great things under those circumstances. So we wanted to do something bold and extraordinary, and that was the birth of the Harlem Children's Zone. The Harlem Children's Zone is a project in 97 blocks in Harlem. It is a pipeline, a comprehensive pipeline of services for children. There are 10,000 children that are in that zone, and our perspective is that every single one of them are going to get to and through college, and that we're going to make sure that with that college degree, we're able to end intergenerational poverty. I always think it's funny when people think that the Harlem Children's Zone is about one school model. It was never about one school model. In my life, I needed more than just a school. I needed all of those supports. So let me tell you how it works. We have a pipeline of services that starts with an early childhood program, something called Baby College. Who wouldn't want to be a part of Baby College? Baby College, since its inception, has served 5,400 young people and families in that community. It's a 9-week program where moms and dads learn about immunization and about discipline and about how to just be a good parent. Because the people in my community want to do the right thing by their children. We have an early childhood program. If I asked you all how many of you had access to quality early childhood programs, everybody would raise their hand. But still in this country, not enough children do. We have a program for our 3 and 4-year-olds. We call them our Harlem Gems. They're with us from 8 o'clock in the morning to 6 o'clock at night, and we teach them in 3 different languages, and we ensure that every single one of them, those 233 young people, are 100% school ready by the time the year ends. We have a middle school program for 800 young people and a high school program for 1,000 young people. And those 1,000 young people go to 173 different schools, high schools around the city. It's not just about charter schools. And no matter who comes to us and where they come to us and how they come to us, our promise is the same. That we will get them to and through college. And right now we have 881 young people who are in college. In addition to that, we have family and social service programs so that we can wrap that around the children in the same way that I needed it. For families where there are domestic violence or substance abuse, many of our children live in homeless shelters or have special needs or have other issues that they're dealing with, and we want to make sure that they have access to good services, good mental health services, and everything that they need in order to be successful. And of course, we're really close and pay attention and have a great connection with the community because we want to make sure that we're doing what the community needs. A couple of years ago, we found out that 45% of the young people who live in those 97 blocks are overweight and obese. And so we decided it doesn't make any sense to get them to college and then to have them come back into the community and have all kinds of diseases. So we decided that we were going to do something called Healthy Harlem. And right now, over 7,000 of our young people and 3,000 are adults are engaged in an initiative where we do nutrition and we get the kids moving and we talk about portion sizes and no sodas and all the things that really they don't love me for because I want them to have a healthier life. All of that is really important to us. This is a picture of those 97 blocks and all of the different programs that are in there. The Head Start programs that I talked to you about and all of it. It's like a campus and it's a comprehensive and we want to make sure that we're going deep. This building is in the St. Nicholas Housing Project. It's our Promise Academy 1 school. It is surrounded by 14 different buildings and there are 1,000 kids that live in the St. Nicholas projects. At St. Nick, a family of 4 makes $21,000 a year. And it's with those resources that they're supposed to be educating their children and doing all the things that they need, $21,000 a year. But that's where we wanted to put this building because we think that this community center and education will help that community turn itself around, and we're going to be very excited to see that over these next couple of years. I want to tell you a story about one young man who lives in the St. Nicholas houses. Let's call him Tyler. So it was one morning, I would say about 10 o'clock. Tyler was home. I think he finished eating his breakfast, and he was probably watching Kelly and Michael, just finished watching that if it was 10 o'clock. His aunt was in another room, and he was in the living room, and he decided that he wanted to go on a journey. He went to the door, and he put his little hand up to the door, and he got one lock open. Okay, but you know that there was more than one lock on the door because in the St. Nicholas houses, crime is very serious. And oftentimes parents keep their children very close because they're afraid of what's going to happen to them. Somehow Tyler was able to reach his little hand up and he got the second lock. And I always say 4-year-olds are always watching us. You don't know that they're watching, but they're watching. And he figured out how to get the second lock open. Walked out into the hallway, which was long and it was dark. Walked over to the elevator, pressed the elevator button, waited, stepped in, and then went down to the lobby. Walked out through the lobby onto the main courtyard where there were many adults around. Many adults, and Tyler couldn't have been taller than I was in that first picture that I showed you. No one said anything to him. No one said, "Are you lost?" No one said, "Can I help you, little boy?" Tyler proceeded to walk to 129th and 8th Avenue. Up there, it's called Frederick Douglass Boulevard, which is interesting because Frederick Douglass is famous for that statement, "Without a struggle, there is no progress." And so Tyler goes across Frederick Douglass Boulevard, and he goes and waits for the light. He goes into a bodega. He walks up and down the aisles, gets to the refrigerator, he opens the refrigerator, and he takes out a Yoo-hoo. I guess he wanted some chocolate milk. He got the Yoo-hoo, and he proceeded to walk out. It was only then that the bodega owner said to him, "Where are you going with that? Are you stealing that? Whose little boy is this?" So he stopped him, and at that point, Tyler didn't say anything. And so the bodega owner asked his co-cashier to watch the bodega while he was going to go across the street to our building, because he said, "I don't know where this boy belongs, but I'm going to take him over there." So we took him and brought him into our building, and we did what we would always do. We opened up our arms and we brought him in. We didn't want him to be scared, so we took him into our multi-purpose room. We gave him some crayons and a coloring book, gave him some crackers to go along with his Yoo-hoo that he was holding on to very tightly. We called the police. We sort of kept the police separate from him a little bit because we didn't want him to be nervous. In that time, his aunt came down from her building once she realized that he wasn't there. And it actually turned out that his mom was at the laundromat around the corner. So in a matter of 10 minutes, I'm telling you the story, but it's about 10 minutes, he was reunited with his family. We spoke to the mom about possibly getting him enrolled in our Harlem Gems program, right? Because this smart little boy, clearly curious, has courage, knows his number, knows his lights, wants to do all these things, and is determined, right? I look at that as a little boy with such potential. So she enrolled him in our program, and we talked to her about the baby college program. I tell this story not to judge anybody in the program. I don't judge the aunt, because I know there's so many situations where people don't have anybody to leave their children with, don't have access to safe places to leave their children. I don't judge the people out on the street. I wish they would have done something different when they saw him. But I think sometimes we're just so, when you're in concentrated poverty and you have so much stress in your life, toxic stress, you don't even see the children around you, and the fabric of the community isn't as strong as it needs to be. I don't even really judge the bodega owner, even though I wish he would have acted for a different reason. He sort of was that little boy's Mr. Pole. He helped bring him to something that was going to make him safe and better. At the Harlem Children's Zone, you all will not have to worry about Tyler, because Tyler is with us right now. What we do have to worry about is all those other Tylers that don't have somebody to hold their hand at that young age, that don't look at him as if his life really matters and that he deserves everything that he should get. And that's why we do this work that we do. I was thinking about passion and about light and about how one finds their calling. And what I understand is that I know that who I am and what I do is the same thing because I've spent some time thinking about it. It's like a basketball player that shoots a shot, and before it even goes in, he knows it's going in. You feel like you're in the zone, or you hit a home run, and you just don't even have to look because you know that it's going out. I know that I'm in the zone when I hear those 3- and 4-year-olds speaking in 3 different languages. I'm literally and figuratively in the zone. I know that last year when we sent 191 young people to college in a community where people would say they weren't college material, I know that we're in the zone. I know that when I think about the fact that of those 881 kids who are in school, hundreds of them are starting to graduate in a community where that was not possible and people didn't believe, I know that that means that I'm in the zone. What I want for you all is to find out what is that thing. This education that you're getting here allows you to explore your different passions. What's going to make you feel that you're in the zone? Something that you'll get involved in where you'll know that your presence really matters. It's that what you have to do, and that's when you know that you will really make a difference. And so that's what I want for you all this evening. Thank you so much for inviting me. And yes, one person can certainly make a difference.